Hello everyone. You're probably wondering what I'm doing critiquing a TV show that was released months ago and had all the impact of a soggy baguette. Well friends, I shall explain. Another Life is a Netflix original science fiction series that premiered in July 2019 and was rapidly shredded by critics. Take a look. These are abysmal scores by any measure. The show was painstakingly deconstructed by reviewers like JXE in Netflix has made the worst show of 2019, except for Batwoman. I digested the review, thought long and hard about whether I wanted to watch this, then headed to Netflix and watched Altered Carbon instead. So what's changed since July? Why am I making a video about Another Life so long after it was released? Well, I recently saw some news that frustrated me just as much as learning that Netflix had created a science fiction show devoid of science. But hold on, I thought soon after. If Another Life has been renewed for a second season, surely the first can't have been as bad as everyone said. I suppose I'll have to finally watch it myself and form my own opinions. Well, I've seen the first episode now, and there's no view count high enough to make me watch the other 9. Not only is there no good science, there's also no satisfying story, no logical progression of ideas, and no strong reasons to keep watching. Most of the characters are annoying, hypocritical, bland, or all three. The lead actress is a fine performer, but her performance is the only aspect I enjoyed even a little bit. In short, JXD was mostly spot on, and you should watch his review when you have the time. But while we're here, I want to talk about some of the science this show gets so wrong. I operate a science channel after all. However, I don't want to be doing this all night, so I'm just going to break down a few points from the first episode. Key pieces of information from Another Life that prove how little its creators care about the science in their science fiction. Here we go. Number 1. The Dark Matter Cloud. What you're seeing here is a crucial moment in the first episode of Another Life. It presents the first obstacle encountered by the faster-than-light ship Salvare and its captain, Nico. Nico has just been woken up by the ship's AI, Danny Pink from Doctor Who. He explains that the ship is heading into a cloud of dark matter they didn't know about beforehand. Now here's how Nico reacts to this news. Yes, the perceived problem is that the ship is going to fly through a cloud of dark matter blind. Do you know what dark matter is? It's stuff that doesn't interact with normal matter, and by its definition it is invisible. So you won't be flying blind, and the cloud isn't really an obstacle. Because it isn't really an obstacle, all the conflict it initiates in this episode is pointless from the start, and we're not even 10 minutes in yet. I should point out that dark matter has also distorted light coming from their target solar system, Pi Canis Majoris. This does happen in real life. It's actually the only way we can detect dark matter at present. So oddly, the show got one key feature of dark matter right, while ignoring its other characteristics. Oh well, on we go. Number 2. The chance of hitting a planet. Even if you are flying blind, going in a straight line through space, your chances of hitting anything are practically zero. Space isn't the asteroid thicket you might picture it as. It's mostly just space. It is very, very big and, for the most part, very, very empty. So again, Nico's concerns are unfounded and unrealistic. Number 3. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. They're still talking about the dark matter when Nico tells Danny Pink, "Whoever said the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line was an idiot." No, Nico, that saying is still true. Just because you don't want to take a straight line path doesn't make it the shortest path. And I'm done talking about this scene. Number 4. The Rainbow Tower. The reason the Salvare has been deployed in the first place is in response to this alien artifact. It landed on Earth several months ago. It's a transmitter that's been constantly beaming a signal toward Pi Canis Majoris. A signal that has to travel more than 95 light years through deep space. What type of signal, you ask? Well, it's infrasound. I have two fun facts for you. First of all, infrasound is a type of sound. Second of all, no form of sound can travel through space. This is one of the very first things anyone learns in science class, so it's beyond embarrassing that the writers of a modern sci-fi show forgot about it. It means the alien transmitter is transmitting a signal that cannot get into space, let alone reach its target solar system. That little oopsie basically breaks the entire premise of the show, and we're only 15 minutes in. Number 5. Who picked this crew? I'm not an astronaut myself, yet, but I happen to know a thing or two about the intense training and the rigorous selection processes that real astronauts go through. They don't let just anyone on board the International Space Station. Astronauts have to be incredibly tough, both physically and mentally. They need to behave professionally at all times, in order to cooperate with their fellow crewmates and make rational decisions in stressful situations. Just watch Apollo 13 and you'll see what I mean. Now, what are the crew of the Salvare like? Aside from Nico, they are ill-fitting at best. Most of Nico's crew are in their mid-20s and act even younger than that. They're swearing at each other and getting into arguments at every opportunity. None of them have substantial experience with space missions, and it's implied that one character has never been into space before. Even Nico's second in command, Eni Yerxa, is a hothead and unfit for the mission by her own admission. The reason Nico agreed to lead this in the first place is essentially so Yerxa wouldn't screw it up. Number 6. The Salvare is too close to that star. Turns out Yerxa is a determined fellow because he goes out of his way to screw up the mission even with Nico around. First he stages a mutiny, beats up Nico and forces her into cryosleep. Then he directs the ship on a risky course around this star, Sirius A, in the hopes of shortening their journey. His reasons for doing this are selfish, hypocritical, and plain stupid, but the episode needed tension, I suppose. In every shot where the Salvare is flying past Sirius A, I get the feeling that it's way too close. At some points it's so close that its hull is enveloped by solar flares. Never mind they just rigged their faster-than-light engine to shield them from the flare's heat and electromagnetic interference. At this distance the ship should be roasted by nuclear radiation, or torn apart by the star's intense magnetic and gravitational fields. I also doubt the shield would work. It seems to work like a warp field in Star Trek. It can distort the space around the ship, but it doesn't actually deflect things like heat or radiation. Therefore, I think the Salvare should have been vaporized by those solar flares, which may have exceeded 20 million degrees Celsius. 9 more episodes needed to happen though, so we have this solution to all the problems Yerxa created. Number 7. Artificial gravity shouldn't feel sticky. This is a relatively minor point, but the character who's new to spaceflight says the floor feels sticky. Another character says that's how artificial gravity normally feels. Now, I'm not a physicist myself, but I do have experience walking around in a gravitational field. Gravity isn't sticky. It's actually a fairly easy force to overcome because it doesn't stick your feet to the ground. It pulls down on your whole body evenly. The floor underfoot would feel sticky if, say, you stepped on chewing gum or your boots were magnetized to it. But gravity, artificial or otherwise, shouldn't have that effect. Number 8. Gas doesn't vent like that in space. Another minor point, but it really stuck with me, so I'm bringing it up here. There are a couple of shots where gases from the Salvare are vented out into space. The gases billow out and make these convoluted streams, as if they're being injected into another fluid. If you don't know what I mean, try squirting some food coloring into a glass of water and watch it from the side. You know what happens when you inject a fluid into the vacuum of space? It shoots out in a straight line. Again, Apollo 13 got this right. You should go watch that movie, it's great. Number 9. This room is not safe. At the climax of the episode, Nico and Yerxa are working in what I assume is an engine room. Yerxa's mutiny failed after the incident with Sirius A, but he's still on duty for some reason. After a brief talk with Nico, this man picks up a knife and tries to stab her with it. Nico fends him off and pushes him into a literal wall of electricity. Now I have some issues with this scene. Specifically all that electricity arcing around. A few shots show the After Effects electricity arcing between different points on the walls and floor of the room. Everything is metallic, and there is no insulation shown on any surfaces. So how is it at all safe to be in that room? Even if we assume Nico and Yerxa are wearing insulated boots, they should still have been shocked to death by now. They are shown picking up tools, touching and working on metal objects with their bare hands. What's stopping all that electricity from flowing through their arms and stopping their hearts? What's causing the electricity to arc in the first place, and shouldn't they be working on fixing that? Why am I still watching this show? There are some other things I could talk about. For instance, the fact that Yerxa is still on duty after mutineering and beating Nico into submission halfway through the episode. There's a line that explains he can't go back into cryosleep, which would have been the most logical option. However, Yerxa himself provides a line earlier that indicates there are shuttles on board the Salvare that can go back to Earth. So why didn't Nico shove him into a shuttle and send him home so he couldn't pose a threat anymore? No idea. At least a few of the crew members had never met each other before this episode. They spoke to each other for the first time after spending 1 month in cryosleep aboard the Salvare. Why would any astronaut take part in a mission with total strangers? How did they even board the ship without meeting each other once? Now, never mind, they're not real astronauts anyway. From a filmmaking point of view, the show is quite lackluster as well. For instance, there's a lot of camera shake even in places where it doesn't make sense. Nico's husband Eric is back on Earth, investigating the Rainbow Tower. Many shots of him and the people he talks to are really amateur looking, with awkward camera movements and occasional little zooms that I found incredibly distracting. Some of the most tense moments on the Salvare suffer from this as well, which really killed the mood for me. The very first problem I noticed when the episode started is that this reporter lady wants to be filmed in front of a giant glass window. That's the first thing they teach you in film school. Don't record in front of a glass window unless you want to frame your subject like a serial killer. Look, I could harp on about this for a long time, but we need to finish somewhere and I don't want to think about this show anymore. The reason I made this video was to criticize some of the science presented in what Netflix considers a science fiction show. It's not just one or two details they get wrong, like that chemical is the wrong color, or those velociraptors should have feathers. In this case, they get almost everything wrong. The entire plot of this episode happened because somebody in the writer's room forgot that dark matter is invisible. The premise of the whole show collapsed immediately because somebody forgot that sound cannot travel through space. Such amateur mistakes, and there are so many of them. This annoys me because it shows a lack of respect for the hard work of real scientists, real engineers, and real teachers. People who spend their careers pursuing knowledge, getting as close to the truth of the universe as possible, and bringing their discoveries to the public. It shows a lack of respect for us viewers as well, since the writers clearly expect us to be dumb enough to digest their senseless story without a second thought. It comprises little to no effort put into research, wrapped up in pretty graphics, unlikable characters, and an ultimately tedious experience. And I fear we'll only see more media like it, because dumbing down seems to be a major trend in the entertainment industry these days. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Another Life. I'd like to finish by saying that I welcome any criticisms or comments you have about this video. Did I miss something important? Was I a bit too harsh at times? Is it really December already? Leave your thoughts below and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you'd like more content like this. As always, more scientifically accurate videos are on the way, so stay tuned. Oh, and Merry Christmas!